Welcome to the Shift podcast, where midlife, medicine, and mindset meet. We're breaking the silence around women's health and simplifying the path to feeling strong, clear, and better than ever. Hosted by me, Heidi Swap, with insights from Dr. Vohn and stories from real women, the Shift podcast is here to challenge the narrative, empower you with information, and create a new vision for your next chapter. Hey there, welcome to the Shift podcast. So glad that you're here and so excited about today's conversation because this is a topic that has all of the controversy that we just love, right? And all of the drama and the suspense and the questions. And if you're having any hot flashes, if you can't sleep, if you're mad at literally everything, including your poor dog that's just trying to comfort you, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about hormones. We're going to talk about the dreaded, bad words of HRT. So if you hear people say HRT, don't you hate it when you don't know what the acronym is? HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. And if you haven't had this conversation, oh, welcome. I am so excited for you. If you have, if you're torn, if you're embroiled, if you and your sister are on opposite sides of the fence, or if you and your doctor just do not see eye to eye, yeah, this is a good conversation because we're going to just kind of talk some turkey. And so as always, I have Dr. Watts, who has not had a hysterectomy and has not had any hormone therapy.
I'm still intact.
And we have invited Lauren Bush, and she is a functional nurse, and she has had a lot of experience with hormone therapy and is here to kind of share her story, her perspective. And I'm just going to say this right now, just to get us out of the way. And if you're not watching the video, you just have to stop whatever you're doing. And on Spotify, just let the video play for a second, because this woman has had 9 children. I should probably have you stand up, turn around, do a little runway, because would never know. She's not giving. I have 9 kids. I don't know what gives 9 kids, but this lady, look at her. She glows. Maybe that's what it is. And she's like, and she likes her kids, it sounds like, even too. I do. Which is fun. So she and I both have had hysterectomies, a little bit different reasons. And so we are going to come here from our experience, sharing from that perspective of having had a hysterectomy. But I want to say from the very beginning, even if you still have your uterus, you need this conversation just as much. And if you are a woman at any age, I don't even care what age, I know that there's this thought that you don't have to think about your hormones until you're old. Whatever old means, that depends on who you're asking. Yeah. Because my 18-year-old thinks I'm old. So old. And I'm like, yes, I am not old. Stop it. I think that hormones and women and all of the things that surround our cycles, that surround different times of our lives, from puberty to when you're having babies to when you're in between babies, whatever. Hormones are such a major conversation. And there's a lot that we just get wrong. And I'm a little bit mad about it. I'm not going to lie. And I found out that Lauren is too. Oh, so yeah. I'm kind of excited that we're both real mad. And Dr. Watts is just like, why?
No, it's a real thing. My wife did not get a hysterectomy, but she's 40, she's 43. And she started her menstrual cycle at 10. So, obviously the earlier you start, the earlier you go into menopause. And so she's kind of been starting menopause here a couple of years ago already. She's kind of in it. And the difference between being an HRT and not, dramatic. All these things, you can go through it, you can suffer through it, or you can do some hormone replacement therapy and feel amazing. And
amazing. Yeah.
So that's what's going to be awesome about today. We're going to talk about it's some people are scared of it, some people are against it, some people are for it. You're always going to have sides, but it's what really is it? How does it actually affect you? And then, the information there is then you can make your own decision on what you want to go do. But we try to stay as balanced and not extreme on one side, and it's like, what's the truth? What's the science? What's the actual effects? What are the potential pros or cons? And then just kind of go from there, and then allow you all to figure out what you want to do. But I tell you what, I personally haven't met a woman that was on HRT, like going through menopause or after, that didn't feel amazing, didn't feel way better, and wish that they had known about it at the beginning when they first started dealing with it, because they went, a couple of years of just feeling miserable, not having the energy. Really, a lot of them report like short fuse, for no reason at all. And they know that they're explaining this to me, and they're like, I know that I am currently acting crazy right now and being like, I know it in my head, but I literally can't control how I'm acting.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad later, but it's like in the moment, it's like, it doesn't matter. I just can't. And so there's a lot of different things that women feel that are, just, you already have, and we talked about this in a few episodes ago, right? What happens when most women hit that age of menopause? You have three things going on at that time usually. You have teenage kids who are going through puberty, and you also have parents that are maybe struggling with health issues.
Puberty is the least of your worries.
Right.
They're being complete idiots.
Yeah. So while you're going through these major changes, which just put you all over the place, and your body feel and all these things, you're being pulled over here to, help with maybe ailing parents, and then over here with crazy teenagers who are
just as irrational as you are.
Yeah, going through puberty, and so there's a lot going on. It's not, most women aren't just dealing with the menopause at that point in life. They're dealing with all these other life things on top of that, which I can only imagine, think the Lord Almighty that.
And then what's awesome is you go into your doctor, and your doctor says, everything looks great.
Yeah. Is there anything more frustrating?
You look great.
I came for help.
This is great.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so I've kind of already talked a little bit about my story. So let's kind of get into your story. Lauren, introduce us to you. Tell us about your amazing motherhood. Oh my gosh. Tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit, maybe even how you know Dr. Watts.
Yeah, let's get your whole
give us a little intro.
So actually, I started off in our healthcare system. I was a medical ICU nurse, and my specialty was respiratory care. And as God would have it, my fourth child was born with a lot of respiratory issues.
Interesting.
And I thought, I know what this is. I know how to handle it. I have the most amazing colleagues. We're going to get this figured out, and everything's going to be good. And 3 years later.
So you knew immediately from when she was first born.
Yeah, very, very young age. So she had something called ARDS, which looks like asthma, except for when you have an attack, you can't treat it at home. You have to be hospitalized. So we spent a lot of time in the children's hospital. And I was trying to figure out, be more proactive of what is causing the attacks. And I couldn't figure anything out that was linking it or kind of causing it. I went to the doctors, I'm glad that we get it under control after she's here for a week. Can we not have her have them? And they're like, oh, well, here's this medication. Here's this medication. Nothing stopped the attacks from happening. They continued to happen. When she was hospitalized, because of the amount of steroids she was on about triple the dose for a small child. For a child, that causes their heart rate to cut to a very high rate. It's very unsafe. So then she'd be on heart monitors, and we would have to live in the hospital till they could wean her down and her respiratory system wouldn't overreact. And
which is really scary.
Oh, it was survival mode. I had her. This was a 3-year journey with her. I got pregnant. I had another baby. I can remember sitting in the hospital in a bathroom nursing a baby. Other kids are trying to run around. I'm running her off to tests. My husband's working in an oil refinery, full burnout mode, complete collapse.
Oh my gosh.
And her last visit to the hospital, the doctor goes, so when you bring her in next time, you will not be allowed to refuse placing the trach tube. We will do a tracheotomy. And I was like, oh, no.
On a 4-year-old.
On a 4-year-old. And I was like, okay. And he said, well, we also got her kidney numbers back. She is facing kidney failure. And the amount of steroids we've had her on, you're going to expect a lot of developmental delays. We're not going to be able to take her off. What do you want to do about it? That was literally the question. And I was like,
aren't you the expert?
Yeah.
Right?
We've been here for 3 years. I have a massive amount of medical debt. Weren't you supposed to figure out what was wrong? And he literally asked, what do you want to do about it? And I was like, I'm willing to try anything at this point. Yeah. So I'm calling all my friends.
And it is interesting. It is interesting when you get to the point, and I've been there with a couple different situations where you start to go to extremes like voodoo doctors.
Yeah.
You know, you start to like listen to the crazy people.
You call Dr. Watts' office.
You're like, what is this? Like, what is that called? Muscle
testing.
Yeah, muscle test. You're like,
I'll do anything.
This cannot be doing anything, but you do.
Yeah.
Because you're like, nothing else is working, and so it starts opening your mind for sure.
I didn't have a choice.
Options.
At that, I was so stubborn. I wouldn't have been open to anything other than the healthcare system until there was no other option. And with my child's life on the line, right? So I was so set, and this was the right way. This is how we're going to do it. Turned out I started reaching for some natural options. Started watching my daughter's health change. Decided I wanted to continue down that path and learn, like, is there anything outside of the system that I was trained into? And my eyes were open to the number of things that I was bringing into our environment, my home, specifically fragrances, that were triggering her attacks in the first place. And there's not like warnings on the bottle. This might cause respiratory irritation as I'm spraying my Febreze and I'm lighting my Yankee candles. Like, you know, as a mom, when your home smells clean, it is clean, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
And there's comfort. There's comfort in the smells.
Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, if we're talking about, how old is she now?
So she's 16.
So if we're talking about 13 years ago, I can remember like the candles. But here's the thing is that you've got other people living in your house that aren't having this problem.
Right.
And so
It can't be the candles, right? Well, nobody else is having a problem with that. Yeah. And you just don't realize that. Like, remember we were talking about terrain? We were talking about terrain theory yesterday, right? And it's like, well, it depends on where your immune system is at. You know, your immune system.
We just talked about this in the last episode where we talked about that. How can there be a problem if other people aren't experiencing it? This one person, you know, what's really going on. So it's interesting that fragrances is what came up.
Yeah. Well, I think we all, as humans, we all have an Achilles heel somewhere. Sure. So hers was much more obvious. Some of those don't show up till later in life. Like I have a son who battles Lyme's. I didn't know it at the time. He's battling it now. He hit puberty. He hit his growth spurts. And all of a sudden his immune system's like, you have asked too much. Things are flourishing that shouldn't be flourishing. So there probably was other things that were happening, but also I had a child fighting for her life. And so I probably wasn't paying as close attention to everyone else in the household of things that weren't life-threatening at that point. And I don't know what long-term effects those are. And there's sure not warnings on the bottle of long-term hormone imbalances, which is what we now know that they are hormone disruptors. And I didn't know. I thought I was doing a great job as a mom, making sure my home smelled really good. So if anybody showed up, I had my stuff together.
Well, and you're a nurse too. Yeah. You're a nurse, so you're Western medicine trained, and so you feel empowered with that. Yeah. Until it doesn't work, and then the empowerment slowly fades, which is very difficult for a mother or a father, even that, to like feel helpless.
Yeah. Yep. And then, you know, motherhood, it brings a lot of things to your plate. So there was a lot more things that have shown up since my daughter that I've been able to find that the healthcare system wasn't the solution for. But I wanted to know what was and invest as much into learning about that. I'm a nerd. I like to learn. It makes me happy. It fills my cup. And the more I know as a mom, I feel like the more empowered and more prepared I am.
And so you just got really curious. You started reading and listening and going down every rabbit hole
I could go down. Absolutely. Found out the impacts of food, found out the impacts of the things that we're using in our environment, learned that our healthcare system is established to wait until the problem is really bad. And then, you know, if you're having a heart attack, maybe the hospital's not the worst place to be, but why did we wait until someone was having the heart attack? Why was there no proactive care?
This whole stage 4.
Moving us away from that.
We call it a health care. What we have here in Western medicine is sick care.
Yeah.
Healthcare is preventative care, you know, diet, lifestyle, those kind of things. And we don't have that. We call it healthcare, but it's like you said, they don't do anything until you start having symptoms. And by the time you have symptoms, you're already 40% into the disease process before you start showing symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which not a good model.
Not a good model. And I was so far down the natural path when I started having hormone issues. The idea of HRT was off the table because that's not natural.
You know what? Okay, so that is interesting.
and that's the most wild thing.
So you went from being total Western medicine, complete, to then slowly having a major, and it happens a lot. It's what happened to her as well. It takes a major event for you to even be open to trying anything. And then when that anything actually worked, now you've shifted over into natural medicine. And now you're dealing with certain things that, honestly, I mean, and I'm a natural medicine doc, it's difficult to get to the level that you need to with natural stuff as far as hormones. And now you're going, oh, now I'm looking back into a Western.
Right.
And that's why when anybody ever talks to me about like health stuff, I always tell them, I'm a natural doc and I'm all about natural medicine, but I'm not anti-medicine. There's time and a place, right? There's time and a place. I just think that our medicines are used too much, too often, and in the wrong instances.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of instances where there is certain times when, like, here's the thing: you get your thyroid removed, you're going to have to be on thyroid meds.
Yeah.
You get your hysterectomy. I'm sorry, but what do you think is creating your hormones, your sex organs?
Yeah.
So now you,
but I didn't even know.
Have to.
Like, if you're diabetic, you have to have insulin, and I didn't know that could be equated to hormone therapy. Like, because I didn't at the time, I didn't know that insulin was a hormone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Because you would never, ever, ever think like, oh, this person's diabetic. Let's just see how they do.
Yeah. Find something natural.
Without
you don't need insulin.
Without the insulin, like crazy.
Yeah. So when you were first going into that, when you're first going now, okay, now you're totally natural. Well, actually, you know what? Before you do that, go into like, let's finish up now, like where that's led you to where you are now.
Yeah.
So people really understand how natural you are.
Yeah.
Before you started doing the hormone therapy.
I'm as natural as they come. You don't find over-the-counter things in my house. We'll reach for everything herbal, nutritional. I went back for functional training. I wanted to know how could I optimize how the body would work and not have to reach for things outside. I just wanted to support the body.
Are we talking about like Advil?
Yeah, even Advil.
Crap.
Yeah, there's plenty of things you can do for inflammation that are not.
I know.
negative.
I got
And
a
by
long ways
functional,
to
she
go. I got a
means-
long ways to go.
And by functional, you mean you've been functional medicine trained.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a nurse, then you went back and did functional medicine training. So
did.
now you're root cause trained.
I went root cause. I wanted to learn how to read labs the right way. I didn't want to diagnose disease. I'm not looking for diagnoses. I wanted to look for disruption. I wanted to look for the dysfunction. And be able to say, you make these changes, you get back on the right track. And then hormones came into play. And I reached for a lot of things that were very natural. And I won't say the needle didn't move at all. It didn't move enough to restore my quality of life.
So what happened? I mean, you're pretty young.
Yeah.
We've already mentioned that you have a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
But you're pretty young when all of a sudden. Okay, so I've had people say to me like, I've had this many kids. I understand what it's like to have your hormones whacking out, and I'm like, okay, that's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
You don't know until you know,
Yeah.
right?
Until you know. Yep.
But having your hormones up and down and doing crazy things, whether that's puberty, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's postpartum, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And so what were the cues that made you say, okay, I need to actually...
Yeah. So for me, the first thing that I noticed was my bandwidth shrunk. I've always been able to handle a lot. I have a lot of kids.
Right.
I'm used to doing a lot of things. I've owned my own business. I work hard. My bandwidth shrunk. And all of a sudden, things that in the past wouldn't have tipped my scales to me freaking out, very small things. I was losing my temper. I love my kids. I've got really good kids. I have an amazing husband. If my husband's breathing makes me want to strangle him, something's wrong with me, not him. He's a really good guy.
He's a heavy breather.
I can attest. Her husband is just the nicest guy ever.
He is.
He's a super nice guy.
And so little alarm bells started going off, and I'm like, wait, this
Was
is
he
not
saying?
me.
Was he saying? Were other people noticing, or were you noticing?
Very gently. My teenage girls actually probably noticed before I did. They're like, Mom, this isn't you. I'm like, well, I know, but I got no control over
Because
it.
I had to have the entire outside universe say, "Something's wrong."
I need an intervention over here.
Because I
Hormone
was just
intervention.
raging.
Yeah,
So-
my husband's very gentle
Yeah.
and is very forgiving. So I'm sure he could have been more honest as to my behavior. Teenage daughters, little less filtered. They're like, no, this is
They're a
this is not
crackhead,
you.
Mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something is wrong with you. Oh, thank you. You noticed too. Okay, great. But my mental bandwidth shrunk. My libido went in the trash. I started gaining weight. I have 9 kids. I'm back to before baby weight in a couple weeks. I've never had an issue with my weight. My hair started falling out. My skin. I felt like I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, I have aged 20 years overnight. Like where did my collagen go? It just ran away from me overnight. And then brain fog. My kids, it actually became a joke with the kids. I couldn't complete sentences. And my kids would be like, were you talking about the dog? Was this about dinner? And I'm like so annoyed. And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea what I was saying. And then body odor was another one. And I was like, I'm a female. We're supposed to smell pretty. What is happening to you? Things
and you're like,
changing.
no fragrance happening.
And I don't like fragrance.
No deodorant happening. You're having like
I'm putting bentonite clay everywhere. I'm like, why? Why do I need an entire bag of bentonite clay? This is crazy. I'm pounding zinc. It's all the good things. Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Mentally, I knew I wasn't me anymore. And my interaction with people I love and adore, who I know are good people, my family, all of a sudden irked me all the time. And I was like, oh, this is what's going on.
And you're how old?
I'm 41 now, but this was around 36 years old. I just had a baby, so I'm thinking postpartum, but this was my 9th postpartum. And I'm like, this was
you should know yourself.
Like
yeah.
the other ones were. This is so much crazier. And yeah, I was like, this is something deeper than I've ever dealt with before.
Well, at least we know now why you had 9 kids. I mean, anybody that's going to go pre-baby weight after every single kid,
single time.
Why not keep going?
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Plus, again, really cute husband.
He's said gentle. He's a big, hunky, muscular guy.
Yeah.
I love it. And so what was your you mentioned that your first thing that you started to do was natural supplementing, and
yes,
I'm sure you got really curious and started.
I got really curious. I started going back and trying to look at my nutrition. My cycle was really bad at that point. My cycles were so heavy that I was getting iron infusions. I couldn't maintain iron levels.
Which is really crazy.
It's really crazy. It's also very dangerous. It'll age you really fast. You're basically putting rust into your veins, so it's not the way I wanted to go.
Right.
But
are you looking at your own panels?
I am. I was looking at my own panels. I knew things weren't where they were supposed to be, but I was really hopeful I was going to adjust them.
Just pop back into
take
place.
More vitamins, and everything's going to be fine.
Were you functionally trained yet at that point?
Functionally trained at that point.
Oh, okay.
I was just
that's
curious enough to know that my doctor wasn't finding something. I wanted somebody to find something, and I got really tired of everything's normal.
This looks fine.
I'm like, I'm telling you, it is not normal.
Okay,
Take 24 hours in this body.
So in your cuckoo's nest, when you can't finish sentences, you go back to school.
Yeah. Yep. I wasn't sleeping at that point.
This is the opposite of what I would do. I'm leaving, and I wish you all well.
Yeah.
See, this is why I stayed away from like really being a hormone doc. Like I obviously did thyroid, and I had women that come in with hormones, and I just helped them a tiny bit. But if they had real hormone issues, I would send them out because a couple things. One, it is its own specialty in itself. Like you really have to just specialize in that. And the second part is, I have compassion. But honestly, my wife, I would even recommend, no offense, guys, but I want you to go to a female hormone doctor because she's going to truly understand what you're going through. Whereas, yes, I may understand the science, but I don't truly understand. So when you tell me you feel a certain way and a guy's like, well, but your labs look normal.
Yeah.
You probably want to reach across the desk 100%. And just choke them, Whereas a woman... female hormone doctor more likely is going to understand that a lot better.
I even want to choke a doctor who's 10 years younger.
Yeah.
That hasn't experienced.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
And I've heard so many really smart but male doctors go, if we just get their libido back, they'll be fine. And I'm like, this is more than sex drive. If for men, sure. For women, no. No. There's so many other things that we're looking for to be able to maintain our sanity. Sex drive is probably not at the top of that list.
Thing. Do not tell me.
Well, if you had more sex, it'd be better. I swear.
And it's so much different with men too. So I'm 49, and I know that. I'm even looking at this stuff. Actually, I just had a conversation this morning specifically about this at breakfast with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about the pellets and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, you and me are the only two left that aren't on this HRT yet, And I'm like, I know, but I'm at a point now where I'm literally going to go in, just me personally, because it's my energy. Just your motivation, that kind of stuff. So guys, it's real simple. It's maybe lack of energy, lack of motivation, maybe a little less in sex drive, and and then the end.
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas women got 10, 15 different symptoms. Yes. So guys, it's hard for guys to really truly understand. And so if your husbands, you feel like they don't understand, they don't, because they can't.
They can't.
They really truly can't. only reason why I can kind of understand it is because 95% of my patients were women. And so after hearing so many stories over and over and over again about what they go through, you kind of understand what they're saying, but like your husbands don't understand because their hormones, it's like 2-3 symptoms. Yeah, they have sucky symptoms, but nothing to do, not even close to your symptoms women go through.
Yeah. And you know what, when you were looking at your spouse and you're thinking, this isn't the woman I married. Like, you are not the person I married. They're looking in the mirror going, this is not me.
This isn't me. Yeah.
I don't know me either anymore. Like, it's scary as and frustrating as for you, we're doing the same thing to ourselves. Like, I don't behave this way. I don't feel this way. I don't talk this way. Like, I don't smell this way. Like, this is not me. I don't even recognize myself in the mirror anymore. So at that point, my cycles were insane. I thought, okay, I've tried everything. I've tried regulating my hormones naturally. I can't get my iron levels to a safe place. Thyroid numbers were starting to go down because iron and thyroid connected. Other things were being disrupted. And I thought, well, if I can just get my iron levels under control, then maybe the amount of stress my body's under will reduce and things will start to level out. So I was willing to go in and ask about getting an ablation. I was like, if I can just get these cycles to chill out, I think I can get control.
Because you were just bleeding so heavy.
So heavy. So like there was not standing up from sitting on a toilet without a mess. Like it was, I couldn't leave the house the first 2 days of my cycle. Like it was very bad. And I was like,
That's like dangerous, actually. That's
very
like dangerous.
It is. And I went with him and he's like, okay, well, we just need to do an ultrasound to make sure it's safe to do an ablation. And he walked back in the room. I just looked at his face and I was like, oh, I know where this jerk is going to go. He's going to tell me I have to get a history. Like I was ready. I was like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have trusted the healthcare system. He's going to tell me this is what I have to do, right? And he goes, ablation's not on the table. And I was like, I was watching the ultrasound. He's like, did you notice the varicose veins? And I was like, yes. He's like, that's all there is. I can't ablate you. You have to have a hysterectomy. And I was like, my husband's sitting there and he looks at me and I was like, get my clothes. I am leaving. I was so livid that that's where he jumped. I'm like 38 years old and you want to give me a hysterectomy?
Right.
Like, nothing else on the table, sir? You've got nothing else to offer me? And he was like, I'm telling you, that's where we're at. And I was like, I'm leaving. And I did. I left. I got home and I heard a voice go, you don't know the whole picture. Call and schedule it now. And I was like, nope, not happening. Call and schedule it now. I was like, okay, fine. I called, I scheduled. We went in, I had my hysterectomy, and it turned out, typically you have one blood supply to your uterus. I had 13.
Wow.
I had 13 different blood supplies to my uterus. And
that's why you were just dumping blood.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. It was the next day I felt like a new human being. It was like the labor that my heart was taking on, trying to pump blood to organs that were not a necessity of it. Right. It was a lot of labor. And so some women, I know having a hysterectomy is very hard recovery. I had a breezy recovery because my body was like,
thank you.
Thank you. And I was like, oh, so maybe not everything with the healthcare system is bad. Maybe this was important. I'm glad the surgery went well. I'm glad I did go forward with it. And my hormone levels got worse.
Right.
So here's the question. So Lauren obviously is all natural. She works for a natural company. She's a functional nurse. So now you're going, okay, now I got to look at, Western medicine again, HRT. So what were your concerns about doing that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of women that have concerns. So it's like, what were your concerns? And then how did you resolve those concerns to go back from natural to going, oh, okay, not all Western medicine is bad. There are certain things that are time and a place, and this may be the time and place.
Yeah. So at that point, even leading up to my hysterectomy and immediately after, I was almost completely an insomniac. I couldn't sleep, and I was losing my mind. I sitting in bed, like if I just sit still long enough, if I just play the right music, if I have the right things in my diffuser, I'm trying all the things, and all I can think is, my husband's snoring, I'm going to kill him in his sleep. I want that. I want that so bad right now.
Were you thinking that you knew how dangerous it was to not be able to sleep,
Yes.
like for your brain and for your function? And so
100%.
you're also having that, like,
Yep.
Yeah. It's a bad
Which
feeling. It's a
that
bad
in
feeling.
itself can lead to a whole bunch of other things like anxiety and all
And so
sorts of
Which
you
was
weren't
also
like,
through the roof. Yeah.
could I just have some sleeping aids
No.
that are prescription Ambien?
Because that doesn't actually put you in true sleep.
Right.
And so I knew it wasn't actually going to fix the problem.
Yeah, you're not going to get that restful sleep.
I will not get my REM. It's not going to happen when you take sleeping pills.
Right.
So I knew that wasn't an option. I knew that I loved my husband and I didn't want to feel like I wanted to murder him. I knew that
it's a terrible feeling that we all struggle with, honestly.
I'm going to have a conversation with my wife tonight. How many times did you want to kill me?
How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night and be like, you sleep and I don't?
Just maybe sleep with a, bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I knew that I gave birth to 9 kids that I wanted to be there to raise, and not just be there for their life. I want to be the grandma that's on the ground playing with the grandkids, not the one that's sitting in the rocker taking up space. Like, I wanted to be active, and I know that I had done everything that I had personally had access to at that point. Mm-hmm. And my biggest fear was I had a grandmother who had to have a double mastectomy with breast cancer. Mm. Her sister died of an aggressive form of breast cancer. Varicose veins run in the family, so I already knew that I had sensitivities to estrogen. So I was like, okay, here's all the reasons why. And then there was this little voice of doubt that came in and was like, maybe the message was wrong. And over the last couple years, watching the conversation evolve has been so empowering. I decided that even at the point when I decided to go on HRT, it hadn't been resolved. We hadn't gone back and said that Women's Health Initiative was wrong. We did the wrong hormones. We shouldn't maybe take estrogen from horse urine and put it in a human being and think everything's fine. We used the wrong sources. We didn't complete the study. And nobody had gone back and checked it. But when I'm like doing my little checklist of risks and benefits, my risks of not doing hormone replacement therapy far exceeded any risk of actually doing it. I needed my sanity back.
So before we go into that, let's just quickly touch on the Women's Health Initiative. Just quickly. I mean, I think that there's a lot of conversation about it, but let's just give a brief overview for somebody who maybe isn't aware of the Women's Health Initiative.
Yeah. So there was a long-standing study on women's health and hormone replacement therapy. And they were evaluating risks and benefits of the therapy. What are the outcomes? And one is the age that you start hormone replacement therapy. They saw an influence. They actually thought that if you started younger, that it was poorer outcomes, higher risk of breast cancer, heart attack, stroke. And so they actually ended up stopping the study early. They were using synthetic and horse-derived hormones, which the human body doesn't make.
Which is crazy because we knew that because what were all the athletes and bodybuilders doing in the 70s and 80s? They were doing horse steroids.
Yes.
Which we knew led to all sorts of cancer and brain issues.
Yeah.
We already knew that putting horse hormones in humans was a very bad idea back in the 80s.
And we were doing things in isolation. So when our body stops making hormones, it's not just one. We have estrogen and progesterone together and testosterone. Like there's multiple and they impact the way that they interact with each other.
So many
looking at things in isolation. Yeah. Now when they go back and they look at the numbers, the data was looked at very incorrectly. What they were giving women was not a really good option. And again, it was incomplete data. And it turns out that all the things that they said hormone replacement therapy caused, it actually reduced the risk. It reduced your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. It reduced your risk of heart attack and stroke and blood clots and all the things. But how many generations of women avoided hormone replacement therapy, go through what we went through, and were never given a solution and aged and died faster because of it?
And so just really quick, what year were we told to stop?
That was in the 70s. Right.
70s
was the start of the Women's Health Initiative.
And so was it like, I can't remember the
what
date.
Year it stopped.
But what was interesting is that hormone replacement had been going on for a long time before that. And what has been scary is to hear the experts right now saying, this is literally the worst criminal offense in the healthcare, in the history of healthcare.
Yeah.
To take this hormone replacement off the table for women because of what we can now see is happening.
Yes.
And to hear experts say this is the worst criminal offense, knowing that there's got to be a lot of other criminal offenses. Yeah. Like it kind of hits you, especially for me, knowing what my mom went through, that I don't know what the impact could have been or would have been. But I definitely know that her life was cut short because her body wasn't working properly.
Yeah. Well, let's just run through what happens when your body doesn't have enough of your sex hormones.
Okay.
Let's run through the list and see.
I would love that.
See if everybody else gets the same stacked list that I got. So if a woman does not have enough of her sex hormones, that means progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone.
So all three. Like we can't really say, okay, all you need is estrogen, or all you need. We really do need this combination.
They work together. Absolutely. Yeah. So the longer you go without them, the higher risk for osteoporosis, higher risk for dementia, Alzheimer's, heart attack, stroke, multiple forms of cancer. Your pelvic floor degrades without enough estrogen. So you lose your collagen in your body. And so we have joint breakdown. And I'm sitting here going, oh, okay. So then think of how many aging women, when they break a bone and they go into the hospital, if they're over 65, 60% of them never leave the hospital.
Yeah.
And that's young.
And that is young.
That is young.
That's really, really young. But how many women have had their pelvic floor degrade, and how many surgeries? And it was you didn't have enough estrogen. We didn't fix it by doing 50 million surgeries, where you're probably still going to be left with incontinence issues or issues with intercourse. And it was an estrogen issue. Or how many women are being treated for depression and anxiety, and it's too low of estrogen and too low of progesterone. So we're getting a million other medications to deal with all the side effects of missing our 3 sex hormones.
And to then add to that is every system in your body relying on those fundamental systems to function. Yeah. Like it's all leaning on each other, everything that's happening. And so when you have this massive part of our humanity, and it's not, and I love it because it's not just your sex drive. Like, okay, who cares about your sex drive? Which you absolutely should care about because it's such a valuable marker, right? But it's, there's 2 things that stand out to me in that list. The first one being like that cognitive piece. And I've heard so many studies and so many statistics about like what happens to your brain as soon as there's no more estrogen happening. And, we've talked in one of the pillars in what we're doing here at Shift and is brain health, because my mom had a degenerative brain disease. And it's so crazy to watch what happens when your brain function starts getting limited. And we kind of joke about it, right? Like even here on our podcast, when I can't find a word, or, we're all playing this game Taboo with our families all the time. And I started thinking, is this brain disease? Or am I tired? Or am I not reading enough? Am I using AI too much? Yeah. Okay, what's happening? But this piece of cognitive capacity is so reliant on estrogen. Yeah. For men and for women. Yeah. Then when we get into, like, we've all heard about the osteoporosis thing, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll eat yogurt. Fine. Okay, I'll go to Activia yogurt. And you're thinking to your mind, okay, I'm eating yogurt, I'm going to be just fine or whatever. But if you don't have estrogen, our bones do not recover. Yeah.
Yep. And we reach peak bone density as women in our 30s, about 30 years old. So it's
declining.
Downhill from there, unless we were making a super conscious effort.
And so the one thing that my doctor said to me when I had my hysterectomy is, you could probably lift weights. That would probably help. And I'm thinking, well, I've never lifted weights, and plus I don't want to get like all bulky.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't want to get huge. I don't want to get jacked. It's not like I'm going to go just start lifting weights because no. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll go to Orange Theory.
Ooh.
You know, like, and that's what I tried to do. And I'm like doing the Orange Theory, and I'm very competitive. Here's the other problem is that I put that heart monitor on. I'm like, oh yeah. And I want to be clipping that, and I want my time around my full 25 minutes at that max capacity. And now I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, I was like literally just killing myself.
Yes,
and
literally.
And your adrenals and your thyroid.
Yes.
And you're doing
and
that.
Eating up the leftover.
And then I would go home and it would be like collapse, full mental, physical, spiritual, emotional collapse.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And I was not losing weight.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going. Did you mention metabolic disease in that list?
Not yet.
Metabolic disease, also another one. And so like that's one of the telltale signs I knew when women would come to my office that they needed to go see a hormone doc is they'd come in and say, Doc, I put on 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and I'm eating perfectly. I work out every day and I can't shed it. And I'm like, you can keep doing that forever and you're never going to shed it if your hormones are off. Yeah. See, and that's the other unfair part about guys. Yeah, if your testosterone's low, like you can put on some belly fat or whatever. But if you have the motivation to go work out, you can lose it very easily.
Or if you just stop drinking a Coke.
Or if you stop drinking soda or ultra processed food, like you can stay relatively pretty good shape, you know? Whereas with women, you can do, and I've had it. We talked about this. I had a personal trainer, this lady, a personal trainer. And she's also a massage therapist. So she's super holistic. Yeah. All of her meals were pre-bought paleo meals because she was this, also a business owner. She knows how to work out. She trains people all day, every day, and she works out every day, put on 40 pounds. And could not lose it. Hers happened to be an IUD. Yep. And within like 30, 60 days, she put on 40 pounds and it would not go anywhere. And so if you have weight and you have a hard time losing weight and you're doing all the right things, listen, I walk every day, I work out, I'm eating right, and I just can't lose the weight. You're not going to. Until you get those hormones fixed.
You know what I was doing? Like my answer was don't eat. Like if you gain weight,
which is the worst thing you can do, actually.
And so
that causes a whole nother list
I like completely was like eating the most minimal amount of food possible, and exercising at Orange Theory, and gained 35 pounds. Yeah. And I was just
while you're exercising.
It's amazing what we can create as women. We create pounds out of no calories. It's just amazing.
And I just was like, physiologically, this is impossible. Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. Yeah. It does not make sense, but somehow you're gaining weight without eating calories. Isn't that crazy?
It is. So let's lay a little groundwork on how our bodies work. So maybe some of the women listening can understand. So when we talk about hormone cycles, we call them men are like the sun. They rise and fall every single day. Very consistent. Women, we're like the moon. We're cyclical. So it's changing. We're a different person. We're 4 different people, actually, in a month. So if your husband's like, you have multiple personality, it's like, welcome to being married to a woman.
And actually, I have 12. So
I love
if you only have 4, that's really low.
She's like, catch up.
Yeah. So for men to have the same schedule day in, day out, the 9 to 5, doesn't mess with their cycle because they are on a 24-hour cycle. And that is the routine that us as women are living in. So when women are like, well, it's not natural, it's just normal for your hormones to disappear because you're not supposed to make babies anymore. Well, that's not the only function of our sex hormones, isn't reproduction. But second is we are forced to live in a life that is a routine based on a man's 24-hour cycle, not our 28-day cycle. So for example, during the first week of when you start your periods, day 1 of your cycle, the first week of your cycle, you are capable of handling quite a bit of stress. Totally fine. That Orange Theory workout probably wouldn't have had as bad of impact on you. That exact same workout or an extreme amount of stress at the end of your cycle will murder your hormones. They just will not exist anymore. And so we're living in a pace that's completely fine for a singular hormone being, male, versus a female, where we need a schedule that rotates. We need foods that serve us very different. In the beginning of your cycle, when your estrogen is just starting to climb, heavy fats, heavy protein, really good. Carbohydrates for a woman at that time period, not your friend.
When is the ice cream?
Like end of the cycle, homemade with raw milk and an egg and maple syrup.
I need to move next door. I'm saying.
For more recipe, we'll make sure to add some of Lauren's recipes to the podcast.
But so the beginning of your cycle, we actually don't tolerate carbohydrates very well. But what do most women reach for when they're on their period?
Bread.
Yes.
Chips.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
And what that does is that will actually block the conversion of testosterone to estrogen at the exact time of the month that you're wanting your estrogen to climb. Versus every woman who's like, I knew it. I'm keto. I've been doing the right thing. The last 10 days of your cycle, if you don't eat carbohydrates, you will not produce progesterone and you will become an anxious monkey. You will not sleep. You'll be bouncing off the walls. You're like, well, everything, I need it all. That you'll just become incredibly anxious, not able to sleep. And if you were trying to get pregnant because you're in that, you won't be able to either get pregnant or maintain the pregnancy.
And it's so interesting. Even me sitting here listening to you, it's so complicated and stressful.
It's intricate. Let's replace that word.
Okay.
Intricate.
Thank you.
We are
Thank
intricate
you.
beings.
I wish that there needs to be like a chart.
It does. Yes.
There we go.
And it
create a
needs to
chart.
say, today, please eat sourdough bread with homemade jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because we don't know. And even as a mom, and you've got these teenage girls or what, you're just like.
Yeah. And what's often the solution when our teenage daughters start having hormone issues, going through puberty?
Well.
Birth control.
I was going to even take that a little bit further is, what's the medication that, like if you've got Accutane,
which has a black box warning.
Right.
So we're losing teenagers because of their acne, because of hormone imbalance.
Because we're not sure.
Because we're not properly supporting them through a 28-day cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we decided chemical castration, which is what the hormonal birth control pill is, was more appropriate than teaching them how to live in sync with their cycle.
Yeah, because nobody knew.
Because nobody knew.
And nobody was taught it ever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and doesn't that just makes you just feel so mad?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say for anybody who's listening to this, and it's like, I still, like hormone replacement therapy scares me. I'm still really nervous about it. It's still important to optimize your system before you throw gasoline on the fire.
Sure.
So if your system is all types of disrupted, you haven't mastered stress yet, progesterone converts to cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So if you just say, well, I'm going to keep eating the way I'm eating, living at Orange Theory and draining my adrenals.
And going to swig on my
And I'm going to start taking progesterone. Guess what that progesterone's going to do? Just ramp up the amount of cortisol you have in your system because you're still telling your body, I have a cougar chasing me everywhere I go. It's just still in survival mode, which is a breakdown mode. Your body is saying, to survive today, her immune system doesn't need any
Nothing
support.
else matters. Yeah.
Nothing else matters. She just needs to get away from the
because she'll probably die.
Yeah. She will get eaten by the cougar. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have to have a system that's well supported. We actually have a microbiome that is solely for our estrogen production, removal of waste from our estrogen metabolites. It's called our estrobolome. So you need a healthy gut. When you're putting estrogen into your system, you better be having a bowel movement at least once a day. Or you're going to have those estrogen metabolites floating around, and they do wreak quite a bit of havoc. So if you're going to do HRT, make sure the rest of your body is supported. You have the right nutrients coming in. You're still staying well hydrated. You're not going to Orange Theory. We found activity.
Just so you know, everybody, I've stopped the Orange Theory. It was a short window. I collapsed, and then I had to switch.
And liver.
Yes.
Liver is huge. So everything kind of what you're saying is we come back, we're talking about foundational wellness, which, we're talking about deficiency and organ dysfunction, basically, right? And so people need to understand how important it is to have good organ function, good organ support. Just going and getting medication, the last thing, matter of fact, if you're on medication of any sort, or even supplements, if you're taking supplements of a number of supplements, more than one supplement, you should always pair that with a good liver support product because everything you put in your body has to go through the liver. And then when you start talking about where vitamins and minerals and glucose and hormones are stored, right in the liver, right?
And so if you're eating a high processed diet, you're eating tons of sugar, you most likely have fatty liver disease. I think they said something like 70% of Americans are there now, right?
So actually I actually talked on the liver here at a conference a couple months ago, and that's one of the things I said is like, 80% of Americans have at least one, they're deficient of at least one vitamin or mineral essential for liver function. But 40% of Americans have liver disease, like actual liver disease.
Crazy.
And the majority of it used to be liver disease was hepatitis and alcoholic fatty liver disease, alcohol caused liver disease. And now it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is overcoming even like alcoholic ones. And you're seeing it in children. You're seeing this liver disease. And it is 100% because of the ultra processed food and the amount of sugar and all the chemicals that process through there, but more of the sugar. Because what's alcohol, by the way?
Sugar.
It's sugar.
Yeah, right.
And so now you're not giving your kids alcohol, but you're pumping them through with a bunch of sugar with all the ramen and the mac and cheese and all the carbs, soda, juice, all those things. The Gatorade, which by the way has a higher glycemic index than soda.
I hate it when people talk like this. I just hate it. It's so
it's like but you got to get back to the basics. You look at pictures from the 1970s of the beach, and being obese was more rare. And then I remember back when I was living in Venezuela, seeing somebody that was obese was very rare. Most people aren't obese there. And you're like, well, why is that? What's the difference down here? And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, everybody makes food from scratch. So they're eating real food. And, actually, really, that's like the big thing. And then also the way they consume as well. They have their biggest meal of the day is at lunch, and then they go back to work and work those calories off. And their dinner is more kind of like how our breakfast would be, more of a smaller meal.
Yeah.
But you don't see any of these diseases. And they're second world now. They're pretty much third world with the horrible things that have happened down there. Beautiful country, by the way. But here you are, some third world country, and physically healthier than most people in first world country. Well, not most, because in Europe, most of these things are banned. Most of our food here in the United States is totally banned. Our chicken, our beef, our dairy, and then every chemical and all of the, all of the dyes, all the things in our product, all banned in Europe.
If you're listening and your cortisol's going up, it's normal. Just act natural.
So just go to but it's a simple fix. Was one of my point is come back to we talked about yesterday. Eat real food. Yeah. Eat real food. You go back to eating real food, your body processes it very different than it does eating ultra processed food.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot more than, and also it affects your hormones, because what are they pumping into the chicken? And what are they pumping into the dairy? Yeah. So we're pumping you're having 10-year-old girls going through puberty with B and C side cup at 10, 11 years old. Yes. You're like, what the heck? Their hormones. So the hormone issue is actually starting much earlier. It's not even starting in menopause. You're starting with these hormonal irregularities early on because of the diet and the hormones and endocrine disruptors that we're exposed to. So, just think about that where you're at now, which, by the way, if you're our age, 40s, 50s, this stuff wasn't really around in the 80s and 70s. So it's going to be interesting to see when our kids, our daughters, are in their 40s. Yeah. Or is it going to be in their 30s?
Well, perimenopause is starting at 35 right now. 35 years old.
Which is wild.
It's wild. A lot of people aren't starting to have their kids until their mid-30s, and you're already entering your decline. It's so much. But go back, know your markers, know where things are. Don't throw
So what's the difference now? So this one thing we didn't touch on. What's the difference from the hormones that they were pumping in people, horse hormones and other things that weren't right? What's the difference now with HRT?
Well, so now they have the option for bioidentical. So for example, progesterone actually comes from wild yam extract. And for anybody else is I use a wild yam cream. It has to be already converted to the usable form. The source is wild yam cream that's not already converted to progesterone. Actually won't replace your progesterone. So all my natural people are I use wild yam cream.
Well, it's kind of like MTHFR. Yeah. If you have MTHFR and you take a B complex and it's not methylated, it's not in the usable form, it will do nothing for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you didn't understand any of that, it's because you're just like me. Oh. And you just go to a regular doctor and they just say regular things, but I didn't even know wild yam was anything. So that's a new term for me.
We need sources that our body recognizes, which is not from a horse. Our body doesn't recognize horse hormones. So we're looking for ones that actually mimic what the body would produce on its own. Sure. I would also say you're looking for a provider who's very willing to listen, it isn't just looking at lab markers. I think lab markers are incredibly important, especially knowing where your liver health is. Again, before you're putting more things in the system, if you've already got a liver that's struggling, you're asking a whole lot more of it. But knowing where your markers are, but knowing where your symptoms are. So for example, I could have a woman sitting across from me, or two women with the exact same progesterone levels, and one's living her best life and one's not sleeping and anxious as all get out. So for that woman, she would do better with a higher progesterone level.
Okay.
And that's okay, that everybody doesn't have the exact same numbers.
Right.
For two women, our testosterone levels, maybe libido came back for 50 at one and didn't come back to 150 for the other. Totally fine. So we need to not only look at the numbers on the chart, we have to look at the human being.
How we're feeling.
And how you're feeling. And then look at things that are causing the disruption. So how are we fueling our body? Are there things that we need to eliminate from our routines that are adding more stress, whether that's people or products? Maybe the toxic people need to go as well, right? And then look at what are you doing to nourish yourself. So I think as women, you mentioned this when we were talking earlier before we started filming, but as women, we automatically look at everybody else, and self-care always falls last.
Yeah.
And I think that most of us were raised, if it wasn't said out loud, it was said enough in a different way that self-care is selfish. And what kind of mother worries about herself when you have other human beings, or like this is the sign.
Well, and you haven't even thought about it, because everybody is taking up all of your energy that you haven't even thought, oh,
yeah,
but what about
right.
What about this? Until those people are like,
yeah,
something is wrong with you. Could you just, Mom, go into your room, close the door. Yeah. When they start telling you that, you know.
Yeah. And that's estrogen.
You know it's gotten too far,
Estrogen makes us nurturers. So it's quite funny as women's estrogen levels start to drop. It's the time we start drawing lines. I'm not doing that. Why can't you do that for yourself? Does nobody else see the sink full of dishes? Nobody else is capable of putting laundry in the machine. Like all of a sudden when we start snapping and they're like, this isn't you, it's because our estrogen is like, we don't care about anybody else. We're falling apart over here. It's not there to drive that nurturing. So I think definitely starting to look at the things that we can eliminate and not continue to live a lifestyle that's breaking us down and be like, well, good thing I found a solution. I'm going to just take my hormone replacement therapy and keep going. We do need to do an inventory of our lifestyle, the things that we can let go of and the things that maybe are non-negotiable anymore.
And the estrogen is big also for men. So women, if you want to know if your husband has low testosterone, here's the telltale sign. If you're sitting watching TV and your husband starts crying during a commercial, chances are he has low testosterone, or his testosterone is converting to estrogen.
Yeah.
Because he's getting in his feels.
Yeah.
Telltale sign, he probably needs to go get HRT. Yeah. He's crying during commercials.
Yeah. And in the last...
It sounds funny, but it's actually true. It's true. Hilarious.
In the last 2 years, I've drawn maybe one healthy testosterone level on a 20-year-old male. Everyone else has been lower than their father's levels that I've
seen. And it is crazy. I've been hearing that teenagers have lower testosterone. So teenage boys have lower.
That I want to tell a story on right now.
Go for it.
Okay, let's hear.
So
let's talk about the boys' testosterone for a minute.
My practice that I had was in Warrensburg, Missouri, kind of a small town, Missouri, about an hour outside of 60 miles outside of Kansas City. 10 minutes away from Warrensburg is a town called Knob Noster, Missouri, which is where Whiteman Air Force Base is located. And Whiteman Air Force Base is the home of every single stealth bomber that the U.S. Air Force owns. So every stealth bomber is in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. It was kind of cool because you go out to lunch and you see stealth bomber flying over at lunch. Right? Kind of cool. Yeah. So I saw a lot of military guys. Being a veteran, I would shut my office down on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and I would only treat veterans or active duty, and I treat them for free all day. And that was one of the ways I kind of built my practice, and also giving back to veterans. So I treated a lot of young Air Force guys, and I started having guy after guy after guy coming in. We're talking 22, 23 years old with 200 testosterone. Now, mind you, that would be something that I would expect to go in as a 49-year-old to see, hey, you're under 300.
But you should be the regular.
You should be around, I mean, the medical range is 6 to 1,200, 4 to 1,200, which is asinine. Yeah. You want to be around like 7 to 900.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And now if you're a 20-year-old, and there's a saying in the military about guys I won't say because it's funny, but the point is, these guys, this is their peak estrogen or testosterone. They should be like 900,000 at that point. We're like, what the heck is going on? Why do I have all these young guys coming over? Well, these guys, all that were coming over, all happened to be airmen that were working on the stealth bombers. They were either mechanics, or they were working around it, or they were working with the paint. And the paint is even top secret. And there's some kind of endocrine disruptor. I'm convinced of it because I've never in my life seen 22-year-old military, or anyone for that matter, with testosterone that looked like they were 70 years old.
Yep. Yeah, it is an epidemic, and
so it's not just your daughters, your sons as well.
Yes.
I mean, now obviously, we men, like I said, we don't go through the highs and lows like women do because you guys are dealing with more hormones than men are. Men are, it's really just testosterone and keeping testosterone from, even when you get testosterone therapy, making sure your body's functioning properly so it doesn't
turn it to estrogen.
Convert into estrogen because that'll happen.
Yes.
Whereas women you have so many more hormones, and each one of those hormones, and want to actually do that one more time. Go through if your estrogen load, this is what it means. Progesterone, testosterone for women too, because that's a bit of a, controversy out in the universe about women and testosterone. So if you could explain the symptoms that come behind those three for women, and why those are important.
Yeah. So I'll do testosterone first because it's the easiest. Typically, if a woman has low testosterone, the first thing we'll see is brain fog. Second will be libido. Third will be a reduced muscle mass. Like even if they're working out, they're not
actually making muscles.
No gains. Correct. Yeah.
Which is
frustrating.
Frankly.
She's like, you don't know how hard I was working.
If you're going in there
and you're
time. You're hitting like PRs and you're like, I should be getting strong. I've been coming here for this long. I should be. Why am I not seeing this? Like, it is hard to build muscle. It is hard to build muscle, and you have to be intentional, and you have to eat right, and you have to and so if you're doing all this work and there's no testosterone, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything that should motivate you, and I have said this forever, do not take a menopause woman and say, well, don't you want to have more sex? And they're like,
I'm trying not to murder him at the moment.
The last thing I care about is sex.
It's like one of 15 symptoms.
I know.
And so you have to motivate this woman by saying actually, if you get more muscle on board, that burns the fat, and the fat
100%.
Falls off your body.
It falls off.
And it's amazing because you've never, ever been able to burn fat like you can when you have muscle, when you are building muscle. Yep. And so
that's testosterone.
That is the motivation. You get that testosterone on board, and you actually are like, give it to me.
Yeah.
Now, there is a caveat with that, ladies. If you have not been on hormone therapy and you get on testosterone therapy, you do need to warn your husband that
they can't keep up. Frankly, let's just be honest.
Especially if you're our age, 40s or 50s, your husband's going to
It takes about 2 weeks, and they're like, "Wait, what's that doctor's name?" Because all of a sudden you want it more than I do. Why?
Yeah.
What's going on
The fastest road to divorce is one partner gets their hormones fixed and not the other. That's not healthy. Okay, so let's do progesterone next. I would say for women, first thing goes to sleep with low progesterone.
Yep.
All of a sudden the sleep, it's hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep. Second would be anxiety. And then you can deal with some depression. I lean heavier on that one for estrogen. I also start noticing, so the other problem is estrogen and progesterone play together, which means if both of them were equally low, fine. But if one stayed where it was supposed to be and one dropped substantially lower, then we can end up having symptoms of high and low of both. And that has its own range of symptoms. Estrogen, we'll see strange things. One is you age overnight because you lose your collagen.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
You get the crepey skin and you're like, oh, maybe Botox doesn't sound so evil today. So you'll notice that your pelvic floor, your joints will start to hurt.
When you say pelvic floor, talk about that, because just saying pelvic floor.
This is the big one too, because I saw this a lot, even just with thyroid
say
patients.
What we mean when we say your pelvic, in your pelvic floor. But what?
Yeah. So we'll see a lot of weakness. You'll see a lot of pain during intercourse. You'll start having incontinence issues. You'll also notice maybe organ prolapse because collagen maintains the tissues to keep your organs.
Because this was a big thing, because I just didn't even we say pelvic floor, and literally my uterus was falling out of my body.
Yeah.
And I was at 97% incontinent, which is so embarrassing. But I could not have any liquid in my bladder whatsoever and walk anywhere without being wet all the time.
And what did your doctor say to you? This just is how it is?
I didn't
or
want
did
to
you
talk to
refuse
my
go?
doctor.
Okay.
I didn't want to talk to my doctor. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And so I stopped drinking. 1,000% for about 4 years, I did not drink. And just for the record, it's very, very, very bad to be unhydrated.
Yeah.
Like, very bad. But I don't know if you, like, I would try all the weird things. Like, for a while, there was a company that was like creating, it was like a tampon, but it was
It stimulates.
to like prop up your bladder.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, I was trying everything. I'd never tried adult diapers. I was like, okay, I'm gonna draw the line at that. And so that's why I didn't drink. And when I finally went to the doctor and I went in and it was like this sob fest, and he showed me a picture. I don't know, you guys have all been to the gynecologist, and they have that model that's half of a woman's body, and they're like, the uterus is up here in the midsection of your body, and he's like, and yours is down here, like falling out. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem good. And he's like, it's
a common problem.
Not good.
Very common.
It's so common that they were inserting those mesh. Remember the mesh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now that you see on TV, I don't know if you see them on TV. A couple years ago, you see all the attorney class action against the mesh.
They actually still have a mesh
A single-sided
solution,
mesh.
but it just works differently now because
It's single-sided. It's not rough on both sides. It
Right.
doesn't cause the same.
And so I had to when I did have my hysterectomy, I had to have my vaginal and rectal walls reconstructed because
Which is,
it was
again, more common than most women realize.
I didn't even, like, never in my mind did I know that was going to be an option. And let me just tell you how much better you feel.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? The reality is, if you would have gone in maybe in that first year instead of 3 years later, the amount of work that they had to do to repair probably would have been a lot less. Yeah. So you're not alone if you're feeling. And here's the thing, though, and this goes across all people, regardless of sex. We start to have symptoms of something, and maybe that something to us is embarrassing. So we don't tell anybody about it. We don't go in to talk to anybody about it because we think this is something that's very unique to me, and it's and the reality is it's not unique to you. There is millions of women dealing with the same thing.
But the other thing that's happening is that it's happening a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And
you're just adjusting
you're
to
putting it off. Like, I'm running my own business. I'm so overwhelmed. I've got a kid who's taken his life. I've got kids that are in high school. I'm trying to help with the drill team. I'm doing all these things. I have not got time
to go to the doctor
to worry about why I have all this pressure in my pelvic floor.
And for women, it's a standing joke. You've had a baby, you pee yourself.
Exactly.
So we've accepted, like, no, this is normal. And common is not normal.
And so
It's just common.
have stopped exercising. I've stopped doing all these things because I can't hold it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's too embarrassing to go and exercise and be wet.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was affecting so much more. And then I just was like, I cannot believe I waited so long.
Let's illustrate this real quick. Let's illustrate this real quick. Prior to going in and getting the hysterectomy, getting things reconstructed, getting on hormone therapy now over these years here, rate yourself on a 1 to 10 on how you felt while you're going through all this, and now and around what age you started feeling some of this, and then rate yourself now at your age and how you feel as a human. I think this is important for people to understand how big of a difference it is for you. What age were you when you first started kind of going through some of the incontinence and some of the hormones?
Okay, so let me think about this. So I'm 53, and Corey passed away, and like everything is like before and after Corey. So it's been 10 years this year. And so I was 43 when that happened.
So you're still pretty young. I mean, you're 43, you're young.
Right.
So how did you feel just
And
overall?
so at 43, and I was in a really, really demanding part of my career. And I was doing very well. I would say, and I can remember specifically turning when I was 40, went on this trip to New York, and 8 of my friends came and my mom came, and I didn't drink anything the whole entire trip because I couldn't walk around.
Walking, yeah.
Right. And I can remember being very, very thirsty, and I would take like a teeny sip, but never drink anything. How did I feel at that time? I don't know if I remember how I felt other than completely exhausted and completely afraid. Overwhelmed. I was not sleeping more than 2 or 3 hours a night and feeling like proud of myself because I could keep this pace, you know? So when Corey died, which was 2015, it was this enormous wake-up call. Well, actually, that was not a wake-up call because that sent me into just drowning, emotionally drowning.
Yeah.
And for 2 years, I don't think I came back up. Like I just cried every day. And I would have this recurring dream that was like, and I haven't talked about this here, but it was Corey playing with this big group of kids that were my grandkids, and Corey saying, "You have to get healthy." And it was like so out of reach for me to be healthy because I didn't have time. And I knew I wasn't taking care of myself, but I didn't feel like I have a choice. And so 2018, 3 years after he passed, I was like, okay, stop screaming at me. You know, and so I decided to go, I wanted to go to this fitness resort called Movara. I secretly wanted to go on Survivor. Because I thought if I went on Survivor, that I would lose the weight. Just because I was there.
Yeah.
Because those people just lose weight so easy just by being on Survivor. Yeah. And then I could also win $1 million.
It's called starving.
Yeah. So, you guys, I genuinely thought if I could just go on Survivor.
I'll lose the weight. I'll be forced.
Really? And I was like, I'd be healthy. That'd be great.
But just overall, like look at yourself,
okay, so,
look at your pictures.
So I will say.
And what you could do and
what you
can do now.
I felt like maybe a 2 or 3 in terms of health. I hated myself for being that bad and that far. I felt that bad about myself. And I will say right now, I probably feel like a 9.
And how old are you now?
And I'm 53.
Yeah. How long ago did you start HRT? And
4 years.
4 years. And how much quicker did the weight come off in the muscle? Because you've been working out with Chelsea.
I have been working out.
And so how quick did you start seeing the weight coming off then? Because you were doing Orange Theory and stuff before. Then you start doing hormone therapy and start doing strength training.
And it took a year. It took a year for the weight to come off.
How much?
How much weight?
Yeah.
30 pounds.
But that's good because you know what? You don't put 30 pounds on in a month unless you get some crazy thing.
I lost probably 10 or 15 pounds initially. Yeah. And then I had this really crazy, like 20-pound release that I think was emotional, which we can talk about probably later. But
we'll have to have a weight law. We'll have to talk about weight on a whole other podcast.
I will say when I went in to get HRT, when I went in, I was the darkest I've ever felt ever. And the poor girl who worked there, like, knew me from Instagram, and she was like, "You don't seem like you do on Instagram." As I'm sobbing my brains out, like, and I felt terrible. And within 3 weeks, night and day difference. Yeah. So I would say, like, if I'm feeling like a 9 right now because I feel pretty strong, I feel pretty healthy, I sleep really good, I feel really good right now. I probably popped up to like a 6 after having HRT.
That quickly? Brain fog gone, sleep.
I could think, I could sleep. And I had sex drive. And that's a whole other podcast probably too, but I don't know that I had ever, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? And that's, people don't realize is that, but that's important too, though. I know that's the bottom of the list of all these things you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But it's on the list. And
it's not a motivator. I don't think it's a motivator. But then when you have it and you're like, okay.
But it's definitely, it definitely, I mean, because intimacy is a big part of a relationship in your relationship, you know what I mean? And wanting to be intimate. And it does bring a relationship together. So, you know, I mean, yes, it's not maybe the motivator to go get the stuff, but it's still an important thing on the list, just from a relationship standpoint.
So here's my question. If you were to, so you kind of got to a point where you were like bottoming out.
Yeah.
That's what I called it, is I was bottomed out. And you've tried a bunch of things and you're a lot more assertive than I was because I wasn't being assertive at all. And you finally realize I need, there's nothing that you can eat and nothing that you can supplement to replace those hormones. Yeah. You can't create the hormones in any other way. You can't drink a special powdery drink.
Not to where I was at. Well, maybe at 28.
No, but you have to realize, no, you can't, because you two are in a different position than some other women that are going through menopause because you had no sex hormones. So it's like, it's like you take your thyroid out. If you want to create thyroid hormone, you can't.
Even if they leave your ovaries, if they leave your ovaries, it is wrong for a surgeon to say that it will not impact your hormones. It 100% does. You go through, even with your ovaries intact, you will still go through menopause at least 5 years earlier.
My doctor said, women go through menopause all the time. You're going to be just fine.
Was he male or female doctor?
He was male.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, it was my daughters that called me out, and my husband, who's very loving. So I wouldn't say I went it didn't go into the depths maybe as deep as you did, but I got to the point where I got up. I had told my husband, I don't care if we ever have sex again, which was detrimental to him. We have 9 kids. It's like
you said that to him?
Oh, I did. I said I could care less. I really just don't care anymore. And then I think one morning I said, you know,
I probably never said that, but I probably definitely thought that.
Then he woke up. He's like, babe, you need some help.
This is not you. This is not the person I've been married to for 20 years. And then the next was I couldn't sleep. And if I did sleep, it was somewhere between 4 and 6 a.m. And at 6 a.m., if I started to wake up again, my thought was, I wish I would never wake up again. Not, I need more sleep. It was, I don't ever want to wake up again. And I think one morning I said that to him, and he was like, he didn't know how to handle it. He went to my oldest daughter, who's also in healthcare, and he's like, I'm worried. I want to do this right with mom. And my daughters came and had an intervention. I'm like, this is not you. Like, whatever option you haven't reached for yet, 'tis time. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. If you think you're going to tackle this, if you've had a hysterectomy or partial hysterectomy, and you think you're going to tackle this on your own or tackle this completely natural, it is very difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the solutions are.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Right.
And
it can get kind of confusing.
It can. And you know what? I'm going to say that I don't think that this is not one size fits all.
Right. There's not a right or a wrong.
There's not a right or wrong. I would say that my number one suggestion when I work with women is please find someone who's not overly aggressive, meaning they're going to listen to your needs. And if your needs are greater, are willing to move the needle with you, but don't start at something that you can't learn how your system's going to handle. So we go back to the liver health. If we don't know where your systems are at and we go super heavy handed, it could be a less than pleasant experience. I do know women that a couple months in are like, the full facial hair was coming on. What was happening? Acne. Yes. Or acne. Yeah. So that's a lot. So you need someone who's going to listen to you and say, no, the need is greater. We're going to ramp it up. And not someone who's like, the only thing you're ever allowed to have is a cream. Because that's not fair. It's really not fair to a woman who is in greater need. So we'll do pellets first. I don't typically tell someone, especially someone who's younger. So if you're under 40, you've tried it all, and you're not you're just now entering the realm of HRT, I wouldn't say pellets maybe are your first go-to, because once they're in, they're in. And if that was too much for you, you're going to have to suck it up for 3 months. Versus if you maybe try to cream for testosterone at first to see if you can move it. If you're having to slather the whole inside of your arm, inside your legs, and we're barely moving the needle, cream is never going to be your thing. And pellet would have been a better solution.
So let's start with progesterone, because I think that's most women, their sleep and their mood is the first thing that kind of goes. And so you go in, and then the doctor will say, let's get you on some progesterone. So let's just talk about progesterone replacement first.
Yes. So progesterone comes in bioidentical, comes in a capsule. I prefer it over the cream all day, every day.
And
it's not hard on the liver. Well. Yeah. Not hard on the liver. So
it comes from a compounding pharmacy.
Yes.
And here's my recommendation. Take it before midnight.
You should have been asleep at 10 o'clock. So you definitely before midnight.
Baby steps. Midnight is baby steps.
But if you're like a wild animal, and it's 1:30, 2 o'clock at night, and you're getting ready for bed, and you take your progesterone, you ain't waking up at 6:30 to lift weights.
Yeah.
You are groggy. You need a full night of sleep on progesterone.
Yeah.
And you will get the best, most gracious, gratifying sleep.
Yeah.
It is really fantastic.
Yeah. And it comes in multiple doses. So again,
you could get it as a cream.
You can.
And let's just talk about the difference between a cream, because a lot of people get a cream.
I'm going to tell you, you're not going to have the same impact with a cream. Okay. You're a 20-something and you're having a hard time maintaining a pregnancy. Sure. Go for the cream. Everybody else, when you are trying to metabolize through the skin, the amount of absorption, do we absorb things through the skin? Yes. Not at the same rate as ingested. The reason that we reach for a lot of things with hormone replacement therapy as a cream, estrogen or testosterone specific, it is very hard on the liver ingested, which is why we like pellets instead, or a cream instead, because those going through
we don't really know what kind of absorption, we don't know what your gut health is like.
Yes.
Which is really hard to know.
Yeah.
So a cream is like a lotion. You're told to put it someplace.
It can't rub off on other people.
On your arms.
And thin skin.
Yeah. Or your pet.
Yeah.
But it gets on your clothes real quick.
Yeah, it does.
And so you just don't know. And that's the thing that I don't love about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about estrogen. The very first thing that I tried was because I was having night sweats that were literally drenching my bed. And I was like, oh, so this is a hot flash.
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, this feels like a monsoon.
I know. It feels like you should be burning a lot of calories, doesn't it? Like, I should be so skinny. The amount of heat my body is creating now.
You're looking around and you're like, I'm laying in an entire liquid. Like, it's shocking.
Yes.
And so literally one tablet of estradiol, and which is what I was prescribed, gone.
Yeah.
So do not suffer.
No.
Stop suffering under any.
And I forgot to mention migraines. Migraines are a big one that are linked to estrogen.
Okay.
That's another big one. So if you're like, I've tried all the natural things for my headaches.
So estrogen can come in a cream.
It can come in a cream.
I have not experienced that.
I do like the patch. I like the patch. It's more gentle on the liver. Again, estrogen internal. It's a little rough on the liver. Again, find your solutions where you can find it, but there's always opportunities to optimize and do better. So the estrogen patches, and they'll come smaller and they get bigger depending on the dose of estrogen that you need in a day. So I think the smallest dose is like 0.025 milligrams per day, basically was what it would equal to. Absorb through the skin, and you change it every 2 days. And it can go up to a bigger patch that will do a lot more. So gives you lots of room to find the amount that reduces your symptoms.
People have talked about the one that goes under your tongue.
Like a trochee. No.
Trochee. Yeah.
Yeah. I really do. I prefer the patch personally, just because we watch liver numbers, and it's much more gentle. Again, the cream rubs off on other things. The patch goes on. It stays there for 3 days. It doesn't smear on your clothes. It doesn't peel off. You set a timer, and every 3 days you change your patch.
Okay. So, and then if you haven't had a hysterectomy and you're still cycling, does the patch know when you need more or less estrogen?
No. So that's why it's so great that there's multiple doses. And same thing for progesterone. Usually most providers, if they're willing to prescribe progesterone, they'll only give it to you for the last 10 days of your cycle, because that's really when your progesterone should peak. However, if you're not sleeping all month long, just sleeping the last 10 days of the month isn't going to really do much for you. So you can actually get a smaller dose, do like a 100 milligram dose the first half of the month, and then do 200 milligrams or more the second half of the month. So again, you want a provider who's like, let's figure out what's best for you and not it's one size fits all. Estrogen, because they have smaller patches, you could have a smaller dose during the second half of the month and have a larger patch the first half of the month. Again, that does require a provider who's willing to think outside the box. I had one provider tell me, if we were trying to match the cycle, we would just let you just dry up. And I was like, no, sir. I'll see you later.
Also, your brain shrinks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So no, I want it. So if you can take a smaller dose on the times a month where we're not focused on estrogen production, it still should never be at 0.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go to 0. I want the smaller dose. So you can have a provider that would be more creative.
This is why it's really important. Like for those that are thinking about looking at getting their hormones checked, or you're dealing with some of these symptoms that both these ladies have explained, which are very common. Personally, I think if you want to go into a doc, you need to find a functional hormone doc, or a practitioner who specializes in functional hormones, because they will look at you as an individual and not as when you go to a regular, Western medicine, it's not the doctors, by the way, it's the training. In Western medicine, there's a symptom, there's an algorithm. Symptom, this is what we do. Doesn't matter who comes in here. If you fit this box, we're going to all do this for everybody, even though one therapy may work better for you or the other. Whereas a functional practitioner will look at you as the individual and figure out what's working for you. You know what? Hey, we tried the patch. That wasn't working for you as well. We might need to do something different. And they're the ones suggesting the difference, because they're trying to figure out which therapy works best for you
and your body
and your body. And there's no box. And they treat you differently than the lady that comes in next or next or next.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want. You want somebody who's going to have a root cause approach and somebody who's going to treat you as an individual and not as an algorithm.
Yep. And so 2 red flags would be you go to somebody who only looks at the labs and doesn't look at your symptoms. That's immediately a red flag. Well, your levels look great, so everything's fine. I don't feel great, and we need
my
to
testosterone's a 20.
This for me is
normal.
Yeah.
Normal doesn't
Because
mean
not
good.
all doctors, by the way, testosterone, not all doctors, and I would say probably more doctors feel this way, they don't agree with, a lot of them don't agree with giving women testosterone.
Right. Which again, we have links to osteoporosis, no bone health, and we're going to end up with a metabolic disease.
Yeah.
If you don't have diabetes, you will for not having that. And then the second red flag, I would say, is someone who doesn't bother even having the discussion with you until you've had to come. If you've reached 40 years old and your GYN has not said anything, that's a red flag. You know what's happening to the female body. You know it's already on the decline. You're going to wait until her cholesterol's through the roof and then say, well, you get a statin. Like,
Right.
So my wife went into her OB-GYN, and I told her, I said, hey, go into the OB-GYN, go get your hormones. Let's get your hormones checked. Let's get you going. And she went in there and she had the absolute most horrible experience. And this is a OB-GYN that gave birth to our kids. He didn't see her. She was seeing one of the nurses or one of the other docs in there. And her hormones came back. And they were going to, hormones didn't come back. They weren't even going to check her hormones. She said, this stuff, I'm going to get my hormones checked. Oh, well, yeah, it's like da-da-da-da-da. Like, basically, like, no, we're going to order a thyroid test. And I'm like, she's like, my husband's a thyroid doctor. I don't need you to run a thyroid test for me. I need you to run a hormone test. And they wouldn't.
yeah. Yep.
Oh, what is it? And then they wanted to give her birth control. She's 40-some years old. You want to give her birth control? Well, my husband's fixed. That's the last thing. He needs birth control. And that's your answer.
Yep.
So there's some that are even so clueless.
Yep.
Where they won't even run the hormone. Oh, well, insurance won't pay for it. I'll pay cash for it. Oh, well, we're going to run it. Come on.
Or they'll say, well, you're in perimenopause, and
it doesn't matter.
One
anyways.
month it'll look like this, and the next month it looks so different. There's no point. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
So that's why I stress this a lot. Regardless of where you live, do your research, find yourself a practitioner who specializes in hormones. And I'm just going to be candid. I will be as sexist as you want to hear. My wife, she will only see a female hormone doctor.
Yeah.
Because only a female hormone doctor can truly understand all of the things you're going through, have the compassion, have the understanding, have the willingness in some cases to even do some of these things and not have to ever have my wife go into a doctor again and just feel like leaving there crying because they didn't listen to a single word she said. And they did absolutely nothing to even see what's going on. And so, but make sure it's a functional doc who has a functional medicine approach because they're looking for root cause, because sometimes hormones also can be completely disrupted by just organ function or some other things or deficiencies that they could potentially get fixed without having to put you on HRT. There are that percentage of women that may not have to go on HRT. Right. But you have to go to the right doc who's going to have that root cause approach and then also is going to treat you individually. He's going to treat you or she's going to treat you different than every other patient that comes in their office because you and your physiology, no matter how similar, it is like a fingerprint. It is not the same as anybody else.
So let's go back. Let's talk the last thing about testosterone and the options for testosterone. Because you can't take a pill.
Yes, can't take a pill. Or if they offer it to you, they have options, but it's really hard on you don't want the liver damage. So pellets or creams. I usually tell someone, especially if they're a little bit younger, yeah, you can do shots.
There's a shot.
I rarely see anybody prescribe a woman a shot, but the creams and pellets more often. And I would say for someone brand new who is sensitive to anything, why not start with a cream? I would say that's not your long-term solution. And they can taper how many pellets they put in. And so the more you need, the more pellets go in, right? So I like telling women at least start there. My testosterone was at 0, so I went straight pellet. And I'm like, fix it now. It has to be fixed. But I also worked with someone who was willing to start at much smaller doses. And if I needed to come in between and not wait 4 to 6 months in between, I was able to come back and she said, I will put more in if you need more help. So I love pellets. I think that they're wonderful. You just don't want someone that's overly aggressive.
So why don't you explain this thing? Because my wife actually, she was prescribed injectable testosterone. And she's working with a functional doc as well.
And so quick side note, right now in our country, there is no FDA approved testosterone for women. And so that is why this isn't covered by your insurance. It doesn't matter what doctor you go to. They cannot get a lab. Well, I guess they can get a lab that your insurance will cover, but your HRT will not be covered by your insurance except estradiol. And maybe a cream.
Yeah, the progesterone capsules.
Testosterone it's a fringe thing, but you're having all the research coming out.
And right now, there's a lot of conversation around it, and I don't think it will be very long before there will be the studies are there, the research is there. There are people who are pounding on the door. So this will change, and I think that I'm so grateful.
I think it changes within the next few years, to be candid, because there's a big movement, especially there's some very big scientists and doctors that are coming out and saying, hey, we have the proof that women do need testosterone.
And so it is worth your, for me, I think if, so a pellet is something that is actually surgically implanted. It's like the size of a Tic Tac. And it is bioidentical. And this isn't new technology. It's technology that has it's been around for many, 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 many years. And so they make a teeny little slice on your bum.
You get it looks like you end up with a freckle hole. It's tiny.
They pop in the Tic Tacs, and depending on what your dose needs to be. And I will, full disclosure, I did have some hormone therapy, a pellet put in, my testosterone was very, very low, back in 2016, really low. It was too high a dose. And I ended up with wild acne. And the sex drive was there. And I was like, is this what 16-year-old boys feel like? Because this sense of compassion.
The answer is yes.
That I felt, I was No wonder these kids can't function
Yeah.
or think about anything else or
Yeah.
look for like it was a
So when you do a cream,
Wow.
it's every day. It's every day. So you're having your peaks and troughs on a daily basis. So at some point on the day, you're going to hit too low, and you don't reapply until next day. When you do the injection, the peak and trough is over a 3-day period. So by the time you get into eject again, you've dropped to 0,
Right.
and then you're going to do again.
Right.
And a pellet is sustained until it shrinks to a size. But usually you start getting your symptoms, and you get your new ones put in the other butt cheek before everything gets.
So now that was a big difference because when this was years ago, I was working with another doc who they did a lot of like hormone replacement therapy, and this was new because they would have men come in every 10 days to get an injection, which you crash at about like 6.
Yeah.
And so you're feeling great. And then you're right in the toilet
Yep.
for 3-4 days until you go get your injection.
next one.
And that was one of the big things he was teaching people. He was like, no, here we do it every week.
Yeah.
And which was even different with my wife's hormone doctor. She had her split the dose and do 2
3
a
days.
week.
Yeah.
So then she didn't have that. You didn't have those crashes as much,
Yeah.
but you just have to figure out which one works for you.
Yes.
And it's going to be different for
Yeah.
a lot of women.
Yep.
And know that. And it's okay if it's not working for you. Don't give up. Don't quit. Just go, oh, you know what, this
it's
didn't work.
so worth it
Yes.
to figure
Let me
it out.
try something different. But aside from sex drive, let's touch on those again. What are some of the big things that they'll feel?
So being able to put on lean muscle mass,
Yep.
reducing massive brain fog. It also has cardioprotective properties, and you'll be able to maintain your bone mass. So bone and muscle mass together.
And you'll lose weight quicker.
You will definitely,
lose
because
weight.
you're able to burn the calories of the muscle. I always I forget who said it, but it has stuck with me, is that our muscle does what our shapewear was hired to do. So we can either hire shapewear or we can put the
that's
muscle
kinda-
back
that's
on.
kinda great.
And I'm like, muscle it is.
So here's what I have always taken stairs 2 at a time. Whatever. It's just in my DNA to take stairs.
She's an overachiever.
And I could not take stairs 2 at a time. And frankly, I was like, yeah, don't need anything up there.
Yeah.
Even though it was like my whole studio, everything like that. And I thought to myself, I will never be able to take stairs 2 at a time. I will never hike. I will not. Oh,
Yeah,
is this
physical
what
activity.
is this what it's going to be like for the rest of my life? And I genuinely thought that, like, oh, this is it for me. I guess this must be what it's like. And after I had the HRT, boom, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, maybe. Like I felt great. So the energy is real, and it like I think you can even optimize. I mean, not even a Red Bull will get you to those 2 at a time stairs.
No, because my wife, what she experienced was like, I just have way more energy and motivation.
Yes.
So
Drive
the
for life.
motivation, you're not getting motivation from Red Bull, right?
And motivation is
It's real. 100% it is, because that's what a telltale signs for guys when they're low in testosterone, no motivation, they're tired, you can't put muscle on, you don't feel like doing anything.
Drive for life.
And so drive, yeah. And so that is another big thing. You get the energy, but you have the motivation to want to go do things. Like you know what, I've been wanting to rearrange this closet for however long, and boom, you come home, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh, I redid this whole closet. I organized this. You're like, what is going on? You're like, that testosterone is working.
Yes.
So what is your kind of final takeaway? What haven't we talked about to kind of put an exclamation point or?
So my final takeaway would be is know where your numbers are. So if you're sitting here and you're like, well, you've listed off things that sound just like me, but I'm too young. Or how do I know that it's that? It's not my thyroid. It's not something else. Or my life's just harder for me than other people. And so that's why I feel this way all the time. Is go and get your numbers checked. You should know where your numbers are at and know that there's enough options out there to optimizing and supporting your system as is. And when you need it, there's tools to be able to reach for, but you're going to have to be able to work and find the right provider.
And can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Because if you get your blood checked and your testosterone comes in at a 20, your doctor is going to say,
It's normal.
this is normal. And then you're going to walk away and you're just going to cry all the way home. Just because it's normal doesn't mean it's good.
So the lab ranges are established where the majority of Americans fall. Are we a healthy population? No. So you fall in with all the other unhealthy people.
Congratulations.
So there's
You feel just as bad as everyone.
You're normal and healthy.
Patient experience should always take priority over what labs are. You want to know your numbers because you know what you can move. You need to know what levers you're going to pull on, but experience.
And now and I have been doing pellets for 4 years successfully and joyfully. And I know that the range
It's right for you.
This is too high.
Yeah.
Bring it down, And I also know that like if I'm coming to the end of my 3 months on that pellet, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, and maybe if you like have a wedding to plan,
Actually,
make sure that your hormones are going to be at the top where that wedding is. Just work with your doctor on those dates because if it's at the crash, like,
not happening.
And actually, I haven't crashed once, and that's what I love about the pellets. But I am like completely like no uterus, no ovaries, and so these are important things, and that's why we can't be one size fits all. And that's why we have to have these conversations. Have the conversations with the people that you know, with your sisters, with your mom, with the lady at the grocery store checkout. Like, have the conversation. It's not embarrassing. It's empowering. It's exciting. And, it is frustrating when your insurance isn't going to cover the HRT. And your health and your mind and your strength and your longevity is not covered by insurance. It's up to you. You have all of the power. And, if that means like cutting this or adding something so that you can pay, like ultimately for me, my provider is around $100 a month if I kind of divide that out over the 12 months. $100 a month is what I ultimately pay, and that doesn't count my labs, which does get covered by my insurance. So it is worth every penny. And honestly, like, unfortunately, insurance doesn't give us everything that we need, and we have to take control of that. And that is why we're here. And that's why we're talking about it. And Lauren, we appreciate you being here.
Oh, of course.
We're, because obviously you provide a lot of education. I'm seeing you on Instagram. So like, you want to tell people like how they can
talk to you and ask you questions.
Hear about you or listen to your education.
Yeah, I do a lot of education on social media. So I'm on Instagram. It's Lauren Bush FDNP. So there's that. And then we have a lab website, so Core Labs Direct, for you to be able to get access to your labs, get a full lab report, do all your hormones.
And does your lab company help you read the labs, help you know what those labs are saying?
Gives you a full functional health report along with it. That lab kit actually comes right to your home. You can scan a little code and it will tell you where to get your labs drawn at. You ship them off. So it's privacy of your own home.
Is
Makes it really nice.
And Bush is spelled different.
Bush is spelled different. So it's Lauren, Lauren, Bush, Busch.
Like the bear.
Yep. And then FDNP. Yeah.
FDNP. Well, we will link that in the show notes. Yeah. And you better go because you need to see how cute she's been bragging about how cute her 9 kids are. You need to go and at least see how hunky her husband is.
Oh, he's a great dude. He's a good buddy of mine. I love John. So
we are so thankful that you come and tell your story and be so open. And it is through the hardest things, right? That we actually get pushed to get the knowledge, and then when you get to share it and you get to inspire people and you get to help people, it makes it worth it.
Yeah, and thanks for being willing to have these conversations, because I think as women we hide so much in the effort to be able to put everybody else first. But if you continue to put yourself last, you're going to rob your family and your community of their greatest asset, which is you. So stop trying to pour from an empty cup. Stop putting yourself last so you can be there for when the grandbabies come, because we want to be active. We want to play with them.
They're going to need us more than ever.
Yeah.
Right? I know, right?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you for being here. We will see you next time on The Shift.
Dr. Vohn, chiropractor and founder of Foundational Wellness, shares his insights on how the body functions as a whole system, along with the principles he uses to help people get on the path to better health. Please remember, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and information purposes only. It is not intended to replace medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Every person is unique, and your health decisions should always be made in consultation with a qualified healthcare professional who knows your individual circumstances. Neither Dr. Watts nor this podcast is responsible for any actions you choose to take based on the discussions in these episodes.